So welcome everybody. Thank you for being here today. We are excited to see you.
We're gonna get started. I'm gonna start by talking about our norms. They're pretty standard norms. So, muting your microphone unless you're sharing something, embracing the challenge to grow, being present, and then also responding in the chat box. And you can respond to your peers in the chat box too. Our learning intentions are just for participants to be able to explain SAMR, and then also that you could utilize SAMR at the end of the session with multiple applications. So to start, we're not telling you what SAMR is because we want to see what you know about SAMR. Maybe you already know what it is. Maybe you have no idea. So there's a survey that...
do you want me to put on the chat?
I've got it, I think.
Okay.
There's a quick Mentimeter survey just asking for your level of understanding around SAMR. If you could fill that out real quick, and then Natalia in a second will show us everybody's results. Okay.
All right. So let me reveal the results. Can you guys see the results coming up your way?
It's thinking.
All right. Wow, that's pretty cool. We have 4 people who never heard of it and 2 people who have heard of it but probably don't know what it is. So that gives us more to work with. So pretty good.
Thank you. And then we're just going to talk about SAMR. So it's a taxonomy. It's talking about the level of technology integration. So it's kind of, if you're taking the scenario of looking at the ocean. So if you're looking at the ocean, you're not using any technology at all and trying to see what's inside it. And then to substitute, you're going to use a boat. You're still sitting in the boat, looking in the ocean, but you're able to get closer because you're in the boat. You're closer to the water. Augmentation is when you're using a tool to directly substitute, but it's got a little bit more improvement. So using a snorkel, you're still pretty close to the water level, but you can see more of what's there. You can see the fish better. Modification is when you greatly change it. So from going from standing on shore to now having a scuba tank. So you're going deeper and you're able to see things you couldn't see at all from the shore. And then going a little deeper is the redefinition, where the technology allows for creation of new tasks that weren't previously thought conceivable. So going into a submarine and going deep and going wherever you want in the ocean, which was something that was previously inconceivable. If we go to
can I add something, slide. Megan? Can you guys hear me? Okay, because Megan, are you there?
I can hear you, Natalia.
Okay, perfect. I just want to add something while Megan rejoin us. It's funny that we are using this picture because this picture reminds me of the pandemic and when we were all thrown in the water in March and say, swim or sink. This is the technology. Right? So pretty much it's kind of like a reminder that, a lot of people, we were able, if we were throw it by the shore, we are able to stand up, survive, substitute some things from the little things that we saw. But if we want to modify and redefine, we need a little more training, a little more understanding, correct? It's like I cannot just jump in the ocean and say, I'm going to scuba dive today, because honestly, it's not going to happen. I need to have a class of understanding or something that will help me with that. Alrighty, I'm going to move along. I know, Megan, are you back?
I am. I don't know what happened. I just
go ahead. No problem.
So when we're looking at it more from our perspective as educators, we have the substitution, augmentation, modification, redefinition on the left side of this visual. And then it's just substitution is just basically ditto. So instead of giving them a worksheet to write on, they're now doing the worksheet on the computer. So it's the exact same activity. Task. They're just doing a task. Thank you. It's just on the computer. Augmentation, when there's a little bit of an upgrade. So now maybe they're using that document to collaborate with their peers, or they're using Edpuzzle. And with Edpuzzle, the upgrade is that they can pause and take the questions during it. They could do that individually instead of doing it as an entire class when you play it on a DVD or something from the past. Modification is there's a little bit of a reconstruction with it. So this one talks about GarageBand, but I don't think we use that. I don't think Natalia's going to say like WeVideo or something along those lines, where they can use their camera to create music videos. Redefinition is when they're innovating. So again, maybe not YouTube video, but they could create something on WeVideo to talk about their understanding or to demonstrate that.
Mhm. And because again this is going to be a session where you guys are going to be taking more than actually we're going to be collaborating and participating. It's more like Megan and I throwing at you everything that SAMR is, everything that is going to help you to get to that redefinition part.
Right. It's something I just wanted to mention because I don't know where I cut off on the other piece and I don't know what Natalia said. But when we're talking about the tasks that you do and activities you do in your class, redefinition is not going to be appropriate for a lot of the things you do. That's going to be more of when you're getting into the deeper understanding of something. Augmentation may not always be appropriate. It depends on what you're doing. So even though we're talking about this, we know that teachers, you have to all be doing substitution. You're probably, a lot of you, doing augmentation, perhaps even dabbling with modification and redefinition in your classrooms. But we want to make sure that you're aware of it so that you do dabble in the redefinition and modification when it's appropriate and when it suits the task or activity that you're working on with your students.
And we go back to the same first slide that Megan was sharing about the swimming and going on the shore. You're not going to be scuba diving the whole time or like being in a submarine the whole time. You're going to run out of oxygen. So it's kind of like the same projection, the same thing. You're going to be like moving from here, there, doing different kind of activities based on what fits your classroom.
Thank you. So with SAMR, it's still a taxonomy that I've mentioned, I think, a couple of times now. It kind of correlates with Bloom's taxonomy, which is something you're probably pretty familiar with. That substitution is going to align with Bloom's taxonomy when they talk about remembering and a little bit of the understanding. Augmentation aligns with some of the understanding in the apply piece. Modification will align with analyzing and potentially the evaluating piece. And then redefinition will align with the create and evaluate piece. So the two models do align. I know you're probably more familiar with this, but our district has adopted Solo. I think it's like 4 years now that we've been utilizing Solo. Kind of the pre-structural is the 0 for us, and then unistructural is a 1, and then it goes up to extended abstract, which would represent a 4. And when we're assessing students and giving them certain levels of tasks. So this is the same thing. So a 0 is when there's nothing. So it's just a piece of paper. There's no substitution. Unistructural is when there is substitution. Multistructural is augmentation. Relational is modification. And the extended abstract is redefinition. So if you're doing redefinition tasks with your students, you're probably getting them that extended abstract, and they're probably able to get a 4 on what they're working on.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and the thing that we don't know is that we can apply the SAMR model with the things that we already have in the district. So many times I get emails from you guys asking me about, oh, hey, I hear about this cool application. Would you teach me how to use it? The answer, if I know how to use it, of course, is going to be say yes, because I will deny you in something. But the thing is that technically we should be training you guys in district approved applications. So that's what is bringing me here. So like, for example, BrainPop has been in the district probably since I started working on the district, like, 15 years ago. I fell in love with BrainPop when I became a classroom teacher because it allowed me to substitute part of the boring textbook. Okay. And I think most of us use BrainPop as a substitution. And sometimes we go to the next level of augmentation. But most people do not know that we can modify and redefine the task with BrainPop. Most people only use BrainPop to show a movie and then apply a quiz right after. However, we do have other parts of BrainPop, like we can do games and then create a challenge. Some people have like related readings. Some people don't know, and I would say most people don't know that BrainPop has a coding portion to it that is made by the creator of Scratch. Scratch is a very popular website where kids of all ages from 4 all the way to 100 can play and create coding. So like something to keep in mind that aligns with that same model of technology integration, that is, discover, play, and create. And that creation part is going to be the modification and the redefinition. That play part, it can be part of the augmentation. And that discover part, sorry, is it discover? Let me hear. Yeah,
Yes.
the discover part was going to be the the substitution and the augmentation. So just to keep that in mind. Some other application that we do have in the district, and I know a lot of you were very excited last year to use it, was Newsela. Newsela came to save our lives when we were looking for real applicable tests, not only books from 19 you never know, and it was applicable for the students. So Newsela also have an application in substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition for us to use. So it does apply the SAMR model. Remember, substitution will be giving a child a printed test and say, read it, and I would substitute it to be able to read it online. While a redefinition will be me as a teacher creating a test set in Newsela related to something that the kids are interested for. Like let's say my sixth graders are so into Harry Potter. I can go to Newsela and find different articles about Harry Potter that are applicable, that they are related to their interests. So right there, I'm doing that redefinition where they're going to be able to create, but I also want to be able to evaluate the same task that I will be able to do with a simple substitution.
So we're going to start by talking about substitution. We're just going to kind of briefly go over because it's something that you all at this moment have to be doing because you are not with students. So again, it's just substituting what you're doing on paper for the computer. It's the same task. There's not much gain in replacing the technology because it's the same task. Right now, it's obviously because that way we have access to it. An example of this could be taking a quiz. Natalia's hopefully going to flip to the next slide. They're taking a quiz and answering it in a handwritten form. And then if you go to the next slide, it talks about the substitution. A substitution for that could just be distributing it on a Google form, not even using any of the extra functions that Google form has, just the kids now take it on a Google form. For each of these, we're going to have a chart that includes action words that are going to let us know kind of where it's at on the taxonomies, on Bloom's and on Solo, some possible activities, and then also some apps that we can use. So with substitution, it's really basic level: describe, find, explain, identify. Some of the activities they could be doing are highlighting, listening, recalling, recognizing, or commenting. And then apps, the Google apps of the document, the forms. BrainPop can be used in this way, utilizing Google search. One of our newest apps is Sora. I saw that was in the Friday Focus. And there's been some buzz around it lately. It's an online library, and I'm sure Natalia can tell us a lot more about that. But if you're just having the students read it on Sora, it's a substitution level. Mm-hmm. The same with Newsela and then Padlet too.
And that's the reason, thank you, Megan, for actually pointing that out. We were desperate as a district to find a substitution for books and library, right? The kids were able to go to the library and check out a couple books per week or every other week, take them home, read them, bring them back, and exchange them. And they didn't have that opportunity being digital and being online. So the district just purchased, like you say, Sora. Sora is a digital library that is where it is going to be incorporated all the digital resources that we have in Racine Unify, all the digital resources from the Racine Public Library, and also all the digital resources. And when I say resources, I'm talking about readable resources. So like ebooks, audiobooks from a consortium with another 500 schools here in Wisconsin. So the kids have very, now is a big part of this substitution. And the cool part is that they also have Spanish books, so the kids won't be limited. So just something to explore. If you need more information about Sora, don't hesitate to contact me.
We have a video of how to make a PDF into an interactive sheet. I'm hoping at this point we probably all know how to do that. If not, when you have access to this presentation, which will go out in the coach's corner, you can watch the video. The next one we're going to talk about is augmentation, which is when you're substituting, but it's got some kind of functional improvement to it. So maybe making notes with links to websites or utilizing images or highlighting things on the internet. Some questions to consider when you're looking at augmentation is, have I added an improvement to the task? How does this feature contribute to my design? And then when you're looking at taking a quiz and turning and augmenting it, it would be taking a Google form, but then utilizing all the extra features that go with it. So it can assess the quizzes for you. It can return the quizzes to the students right away. The students can even retake the test right away. So all of those added features increases. You're going to say something?
Yeah. I was going to say that like an augmentation to a Google form will be the immediate feedback. Sometimes when we are in the classroom and a student take a quiz, the bell ring, they give it to us, and that's it. See you later, right? And then the next time we see those students is when we're going to give them the feedback, and it's going to be maybe written paper, because maybe I don't have the time to meet with all my students. So this will be the augmentation. I'm going to be having a feedback on my forms that automatically my kids are going to get without the need to wait for the next lesson.
Right. Again, we have a chart for augmentation. It includes action words like operate, interview, construct, categorize, demonstrate. Some activities could be building a questionnaire, a diagram drawing, graphing, demonstrating something. Some of the apps, we still have the Google Slides, Docs, Forms, and Sora is still on here. It's just utilizing it at a different level. We also have added on here Brain Pop, Pear Deck, again, Newsella. We saw earlier how that applies to all 4 levels, depending on how you utilize it. Padlet, Kahoot, and Edpuzzle are at this level as well.
And you may ask why Sora is right here. Aren't you just substituting like the reading of the book from the book in physical book to the digital book? No, you can also assign to the students. You can add in questions, the student can highlight, the students can look for definition of words. So that's the augmented part of Sora, for example.
Thank you. When we presented this originally, we talked about co-writer and snap and read, and Natalia walked us through how both of those work. However, everybody had the opportunity to do professional learning with that over the summer. So we're not going to dig deep in there. If you probably know how to use them. If not, then you can reach out to Natalia and she'll support you with that. And then there's some slides that we added that are augmentations that I just wanted to show as some exemplars. One is I did a waiting room so that if teachers came in early to a PLC, there were some things they could do and they knew how long until the PLC started. It's the same thing as if I set up an agenda and a timer and those, but since it's all in one place, it's the augmented piece. The next one is actually from Jen Adams. She was gracious enough to allow us maybe a month ago to put these in the coaches corner. So this is one when her students come into class, she has a question every day for them. This one I actually witnessed where they were talking about whether they'd prefer to eat onion flavored ice cream or turkey flavored cereal. It was an interesting conversation that kind of went all over the place, but she got to learn about her students and they were talking to her. But it also lets the kids know when they come in what they need to do and reminds them of some of the expectations. She has another slide that's on here as well that she puts up when students are doing their independent work to remind them what the expectations are and to remind them what they should be doing. And then it also includes that timer. I mean, you could do the stuff in the classroom, but I think the timer, and it's funny as I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking maybe this could have been substitution, but utilizing the timer, I think maybe pushes it up a little bit to augmentation.
So no, I agree. I mean, is that many of the applications and many of the things that you do here, you really have to think because they can be utilized from substitution all the way to redefinition. So you have to, stop and think, what am I doing with this application? Because again, technology is so versatile that you can use it in many, many different ways.
Right. Thank you. So hopefully today our breakout rooms will work. Because Natalia should hopefully be setting you up in a group of 3 in a minute. We're just going to give you an opportunity to go and talk to some of your peers, maybe some peers you don't usually see or talk to, just to talk about what levels of SAMR you're using in your lessons. And then what's going well. What are the things that you're doing with your students that are working really well?
Okay.
Well, with first grade substitution, definitely not having the book. I utilize a lot of RAS kits where either I'll just post the link and the kids connect to it, and then they'll come back and tell me I read 1 book, 2 books, and then I can look and see. With the subs or augmentation, it gives me also the opportunity to assign books by their reading levels. So at times, and even assess. So I at times say, okay, when you go in today, you're gonna see the flight check. So make sure you do the assessment. So that's kind of what I've been.
That new one today, that quizzes or whatever it was. I know she used that one today.
Today. Yeah. Other than that, I'm pretty much in Miss Harris's room, and we don't really, you know, she does some, we make a room and I go with other kids, and that's I kind of use.
So they could create their own. And then at the end, for something fun, I had them find a funny meme because it's Friday and I need to be entertained. So we did a funny meme jam board at the end where they could just kind of go crazy with them, but they had to be appropriate for school.
Right.
Keyword there, they had to be appropriate for school.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's a little bit of what I've been doing, and that's just what I've learned from being on the lessons today with the other teachers. So that was pretty cool.
Thanks. So I think that Natalia and I were working on something that involves the 5Es, and we use Jamboard. We were working on it for the 6th grade enrichment science teachers, and they are going to do a lesson where they're using Goosebumps books from Discovery Ed, which is another great tool that I feel like we haven't mentioned yet. And we started trying to put together a curriculum or a unit for them so they could use it to teach. And like we use Jamboard, and one of the first things, because the goal is going to be so that they can write a scary story. So one of the first things was, what scary movies or situations can you think of? And then the next day is, why are they scary? We put together a Jamboard for that. Like, I don't know how it would go with the students. I'd assume it would go well. Like I put together a lot of resources and don't actually see what happens with them. Are you going to say something, Natalia?
Yeah, I said, do not worry. I will be talking about discovery very soon, like in the next minute or so.
It's one of her things. I feel like she talks about Brain Pop and Discovery Ed all the time.
All the applications, you guys. All the applications that we need to talk about. And welcome everyone. I had the opportunity to visit a couple breakout rooms, and the conversations were really cool because you guys were sharing about like what kind of technology you use in the classroom that it has worked with your students. So I have the opportunity to listen to a 1st grade teacher. So that was awesome because sometimes I felt like the elementary teachers are the ones that struggle the most trying to modify in this digital world. So I know Ms. Sandoval here is an expert on this digital work, and she does a fantastic job, but not everybody is Ms. Sandoval, and sometimes teachers struggle with that. We're trying to find those activities, try to make it from showing the kids how to write the words, how to write the letters in this digital world. So it was pretty cool to hear about that. I hear about memes, so that's super cool. So we're going to move to the modification part of the SAMR model. So it's when we are redesigning the test. So something that I always tell people is, do not think of technology as the task think of technology as what is going to take you to complete and help you with the task. So in here, we do collaborating notes and we add links, the peer review, like the auto self-assessment, no, the auto self-assessment, obviously, the self-assessment, the feedback, and the comments. And something that we should consider here is how original, how much modification have been from the task, the original task to now. Does this fundamentally depend from the technology? Does this contribute to my design? So there are a couple things to think about that. Then the traditional lesson, like we've been using from the beginning, was to have the quiz, answer the questions, and then we will be using something different, like maybe writing an essay. And when we are saying writing an essay, doesn't mean literally taking your Google Docs and start writing something. Kids can write something with pictures, with videos. Nowadays, in this digital world, people have found videos like the number one helper and help them express themselves. Kids love audiences, and what better way than this, right? If I give a child an audience to express their writing, to show people. And the good thing about this is that I'm not only going to be sharing with my peers and my teacher and my immediate family that live with me, um, I going to be sharing it maybe with my grandma who lives in Colombia. So that's a good way. So, to incorporate here. Again, some action words will be examine, compare, classify, um, all the way to
Natalia,
prioritize. Yes.
no, you're not presenting.
Seriously, all this time?
I tried and I was muted just now when I tried to tell you. Sorry.
I think it was when we did the breakout rooms.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help that my child is passing me notes next to me and distracting me. So, number one. All right, sorry about that, you guys. So I'm going back here. So again, the traditional test will be modifying. And then these are the words that we are having. Some of the applications is the same applications that we've been seeing from the beginning. But then what do we do with those applications? What do we do with Newsela? We have attached to this presentation a Jeopardy slideshow game that you can utilize with your students. Now, the funny thing is that on Wednesday night, I started watching Jeopardy with my kids for the first time. Like they didn't know what Jeopardy was. And they were like, how they know all those answers? And we say they're knowledgeable people. So maybe there are some things that we try to modify, change, and make it different. But we need to remember that we are in a different generation and we need to do those modifications based on what the students know as well. All right, so what do we have here for our modification is a scavenger hunt. Megan created this fabulous coach office that is full of resources. So we want you to take the time to actually, and I think Megan just, did you share that yet or not yet?
No, I can put it in the chat.
Okay, so Megan is going to put it on the chat. This is the virtual office of the coaches. So we have Megan, myself. So what I want you guys to experience is like, this is something, I'm not going to lie to you, that it's not going to take you 2 minutes to do. Okay, Megan spent more than 2 minutes working in an office like this that look this pretty. However, what is the benefit of this? This is something that she will be able to use through the years, or a teacher will be able to use through the years, and it will take 5 minutes to change the links to something like this. But the kids really enjoy it. It's very easyable and manageable for the kids, especially when there are images. So if you guys can click on the chat and then go into this virtual office, starting with Megan. Megan is going to give you the direction. So if you click on Megan, then she will be giving you the directions. Today, in the tech mass that Todd sent, show you how to do this, how to add voice to an image. So go ahead. About like 5 minutes, Megan.
Um, like 3 to 5, yeah.
Yep. Okay. So go ahead. Take like about 3 minutes, 5 minutes to explore the virtual office. Gonna set my timer.
It's not working for me. It's sending me to Internet Explorer, and then it's just like the ClassLink login page.
Okay.
That's weird. It worked for me. I'll look again.
I just added as well again, just in case. Yep.
Yep, it works. Thank you.
No problem.
That's weird. Technology's been funny though today.
So we're
Today,
just doing this only or what? Making a copy and changing stuff? What are we doing?
Just
so you're gonna
exploring.
explore. Just that's Megan and I like virtual office. So where you will be able to find resources. So if you click on Megan, she will tell you a couple things, and then you can. There are clickable resources. People get confused sometimes because they think, "Oops, my mistake." They think that this board may be clickable, but if you go on Megan, myself, this
The
little
pillows.
poster right here. I think the books as well, right, Megan?
The books are going to go to the books though. The
Mhm.
pillows have something. I think the poster that says technology integration is something. But if you start with me, I'll tell you what to do.
Anybody has any questions, any comments so far?
When I click the button, I can see the video playing, but I don't hear anything. And I don't know, I got two screens going on and I'm trying to figure out if it's something I'm doing, but I don't hear any sound. I see the video going, but I can't seem to get it to let me hear it.
Can you see my screen, Diane?
Yes.
Okay, so when I click here, do you see like this pop out right here?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our virtual office. Thanks for stopping by. Feel free to click around on the different objects and complete the activities that are linked. Thanks for joining us.
So then if I click the pillows, then I will see a template here. Were you able to do that or not yet?
I can see it and do all of that, but every time I click it, even like the mute or the unmute, I don't, let me see. Try it one more time. Yep, I turned the volume all the way up.
No worries. I can help you after and see what the issue is. Okay. All right, guys. Everybody good? Can we go back to the Zoom meeting? All good? Awesome. All right. So moving on to the last part of SAMR. Oh, and again, my timer. I always forget to stop the timer. Moving on will be the redefinition. Again, the redefinition is the tech is going to help us for creation of new tasks. So I think the most important word here will be creation. This is the part where I see we are going to use our creativity. So how we use it, we can collaborate in a virtual tour. I know Todd has shared with you a Google Earth activity that we created to use with the students during the holidays. Then we also, since Google Earth is amazing, since we are home and we are unable to go anywhere, now we at least can see the world through Google Earth. So that's something to consider, for example. Questions to think about. What is a new task? What does it make it different from the original? Will any portion of the original task is retained? Am I assessing here maybe? And that's the original part. I'm assessing, but I'm not doing the assessment on the paper. It's just rethinking how these kids will show me what they know. For example, is the new task uniquely made possible by the new technology? How does this contribute to my design? So there are a couple things to think about. All right, so again, we are going back to the original task, taking the quiz, and then the redefinition. The classroom is asked to create a documentary video. So we are going again back to, we are not just collaborating, putting in a document, we are creating a video with new concepts. And they are collaborating all together. We video only for teachers, but there are so many applications that you can use to do something like this, including like Google Slides. Kids can create kind of like their own websites or their own blogs using Google Slides and making sure that they are linking things with each other. I can help you with that if you guys have any questions about it. Action words: justify, discuss. Design for me is important. Hypothesize is super important. Some activities, storytelling. Do not get hooked on the old-fashioned storytelling where I'm sitting down, in front of the kids and telling them stories. There are many different ways to tell a story nowadays. If we really look at TikTok, for example, that's a new way to retell a story in 1 minute or less, because guess what? This new generation attention is way shorter than the one that we did when we were at school. I was able to sit still at school for hours. It's not the case anymore. I mean, 1 minute and they are out. So you better get this in 1 minute or you're done. Applications, again, Google Earth is a great application. And I know Megan mentioned this to a group. Discovery education is something that I do truly love and enjoy. I have been with some of you in your PLCs and I have told you about the new ways to utilize Discovery Ed. You can do virtual field trips with the students. BrainPop again is popping up here. Jamboard, Newsela. So those are applications that are free to use and we have it in our district. And guess what? We are not doing it. So I want to show you, well, this is something to think about, like how am I changing the things? How am I improving? How am I making it better? But today I'm gonna show you another application that I think most people use for substitution, and it's called vocabulary. So vocabulary I really like. Oh, I never stop my timer. Vocabulary I really, really love because it gives you the opportunity for that creation piece. So you may say, oh, I know what is vocabulary. I use it all the time with my kids. They love the music. But my question to you, when you come here, and are you guys able to see my screen right now? Awesome. So I'm here in the class link. I'm gonna type vocabulary. I believe it's in apps for education. Okay, so I click vocabulary. And when I'm in vocabulary, most people is gonna say, oh, I'm teaching parts of the speech to my students. I'm going to be looking for a movie and substitute my lesson with parts of the speech. So I click right there and nothing happened. No, just kidding. So right there, I found a great video. Want to make sure I'm sharing my sound. Yep, I am. So I have this video, really cool. Seems like something kids will like.
It's flow cab, parts of speech. It goes noun, verb, adjective, adverb, pronoun, preposition, conjunction, interjection. Pardon me when I'm running through the.
I think my kids will be interested in something like that because guess what? I'm hooked into it. So maybe, there will be two. So yeah, cool, very nice. So I'm substituting my lesson. I'm going to start with that. Then I'm going to decide that I'm going to augment it by giving them some vocabulary cards. Look, I have vocabulary cards already designed for me. Very cool. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, look, I did this one, you guys, because it will allow you to create. I draw, and that was the activity that I create. Draw the bunny, do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. Then I also going to start going from the augmentation to a little more modification. And then I'm going to be, you know, maybe creating using the beat of this. So now look at this. Now I'm in the borderline between modification and redefinition. And I bet you money, a lot of people know that I can do all this with vocabulary. So I listen to the beat. I answer the question correctly. And then when I answer all the questions, I'm going to have a whole song with instruments. So the cool part about this is that I cannot stop it. The cool part about this is that I'm not only assessing, testing, or modifying that test. I'm allowing my creative musical students to use music with an activity that is designed for content knowledge. Okay? Then maybe I'm going back to the augmentation and I'm just going to read and respond. I'm going to take that quiz after they take that video. Again, maybe I just go to the substitution part. Instead of giving them the test, I'm just going to use the quiz that they have in vocabulary. Now I'm going to show you my favorite part of vocabulary. And it's called ton ton ton, the lyric club. So vocabulary have made me think about rethinking about my profession. I don't know if I'm the right tech integrator for Resin Unify, but I'm becoming very, very good rapper. I can tell you that. So I'm creating my own music here. I'm creating my own redefinition. So me as a student, I'm not only showing you that I know what a noun is. I'm not only going to show you what an adjective is, but I'm going to show you again my musical skills. I'm going to be the new 70 cents, okay? So again, vocabulary provide you with this. They give you with word vocabulary that is related to the topic. They give you words that are also rhyming with whatever you have. You can use their music. And then, nouns are everywhere. Bear, software, and daycare. I like my adjectives, always part of my narrative, and I don't do this. Remember, I'm gonna quit my job as a tech integrator. Yeah, but anyway, you can see that this has so much potential. Then again, maybe that wasn't the beat for this tech integrator. I can change it for something else. I think as a Colombian, I need some salsa here. That's why. Anyway, but the kids can do this. They can share with you. They can record themselves using an application like Buckaroo. So now you're not using one application, but you are using multiple applications. Now you're not only testing their knowledge about parts of the speech, but you are teaching and testing their technology skills as well. You know what? You will say, Natalia, that sounds pretty cool, but I have kids that are super shy. They will never go in a camera and sing. They might not, but what about their voice? No, they sing kind of like you. I don't want to hear them. Okay, so I would say, well, in that case, bam, they can give you the PDF file of what they have created. So it's going to be right here, and look at this beauty. Lyrics by Maria Razavon. That's my rapper name. Then I have it here. I have it highlighted. I have my vocabulary words. How many I use out of the 10 that they give me? So isn't that cool? I have tried this with kids from second grade with assistant, okay? Assistant meaning like we are creating it together, right, as a group, and students from 8th grade. So Todd is the expert on vocabulary. Actually, he's the big rapper, okay? And he did this, I believe, at Walden and maybe Starbucks. He brought me to see these kids. You won't see, you won't believe, kids that the teachers were saying like, man, I never heard this child speak in the last 3 years. This is the first time, and now they're rapping in front of the school. Things that are like that. And this is not the case for everybody. Like I say, I can start with my awesome PDF as a writer and then move along to the performer. So that's a part of that redefinition of the test. You're not only going to be assessing the knowledge of that content, but you're going to be getting to know your students. You're going to be finding secret talents, and you're going to be assessing what you originally wanted. So that's my part right there. Megan?
Thought I was muted still. You're supposed to do the next two, but I can do them.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We just threw in some additional resources for you. One of them is looking at the SAMR model on the next slide, and what you can use from Google Suite. So we're just going to kind of give this to you, and you'll get the presentation at some point before Monday or on Monday, and you can look through these different pieces. This is the next slide, has different apps that you can use for the different levels. There are lots of different things out there. If you Google SAMR, there's also this like ginormous circle that has like 70 apps on it. It's quite overwhelming. So we didn't share it because it's quite overwhelming.
And may I interrupt you right there?
No.
Remember what I told you at the beginning, you guys. Sometimes the grass is greener in the other side. So we always looking of what is out there, what I can get, what I can use. And you guys, we have so many things here in Resin Unified that we can utilize, that I use just the basics. I used to use only the wrap, but I never created my own. I used to watch or use the Brain Pop movie, but I never went and make my own movie, because Brain Pop give you that possibility as well. So instead of sometimes, like my husband always say, my eyes are bigger than my stomach, right? Like I always want, give me the biggest ice cream. And I ended like wasting half of it because I cannot eat it all. That's a bad example though, because I will eat it. But, it's the same thing here. Like we have tons of applications out there. Why we don't start focusing on what we have, and maybe give Natalia a call and say, hey, give me an idea on how to use BrainPop. How do you use Discovery? Things like that.
And even though we're showing you lots and lots, we don't expect anybody to go out and just start implementing a ton of them. Pick one that you think will work and work that in. And if it works, then keep using it. After that, it's going smoothly, feel free to try another one. But Natalia will help you with all of them. On the next slide, not where I thought I was, is a link to the SAMR Padlet, which I also just put in our chat in case you're interested. We started it last year. It's just supposed to be a place where we can put all of our thoughts and our ideas. So, if 2 months from now you're like, oh, my kids are bored with what we're doing, I need something new, you could go to this Padlet and you can see what our teachers at Mitchell are doing. So everything on there is either from the presentation or it's something, I don't know, anybody's added to it yet, but something that's going on at Mitchell. So this is a Padlet just for us. So if you're doing something that's working well, please add it to the Padlet so that other people can learn from you. And then the last part is that we like to get feedback. So there is a survey that I just put in the chat as well. If you could just give us some feedback on how things went, how we can improve, what else you need from us, those kinds of things, we would greatly appreciate it so that we continue to improve our practice as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending the last hour of your workday this week with us. We appreciate your time. It's always a pleasure to see you all.